Hi folks, Mr. Hughes here from Marival High School, and what I wanted to do was to make a brief video to help parents navigate the online learning environment that a lot of students are going through right now. Now, the majority of teachers are using Google Classroom in order to hand out work or materials and have students submit work, so that's what we're going to be focusing on today. What I want to do is jump through what a teacher will see, what a student will see, how a teacher will evaluate, what a student will see as far as comments and marks afterwards. And then that way, hopefully parents will have a better idea of how to best support students as we go through this. So the first thing I want to look at here is, here's a sample of Google Classroom, and I've made a sample class here. And I want to go through just a couple different sections here. And the first one is the stream. Now the stream is the very first page you're going to see once the student has joined the classroom. And in this section, now teachers will be using this a little bit differently. So a couple of the options are that teachers will use it like I would use it, which is solely for announcements. So anything that needs to be given out, maybe if it's the teacher's going to be away or what you should be focusing on when you're at home, maybe even little resources that have popped up. The other thing that could appear here as well is any new material that has been added for students to work on. So that's how I have this page set up right now. You'll notice here at the bottom, I have an announcement for students, but then it shows that new material or new assignments have been posted for students to check out. I'm also going to show you what it would look like if that was turned off and it was only announcements when we jump over to the student view. So that is what the stream is used for. It's really just snippets, little announcements, and that sort of thing. What we want to focus on now is the classwork section, which is the second tab. And in here, what I've done is in the teacher view is I've added 3 different types of material that a teacher could add for a student to view. And the first one has this little bookmark sort of symbol, and it's just a material. And the material is just something that students can look at, but there's nothing really to submit here. So maybe this is an article for them to read or a really cool resource that has come up. In this section here, I've just said, here's a resource for you, and it's a link to the Marival homepage. So we'll look at that again when we look at the student view. The next one is just a question. So this could be a short answer question or a multiple choice question, and we'll take a look at that as well when we jump over to the student view. And the last thing that I've added is an assignment, and I'm going to show you a couple different ways that teachers can evaluate this as well, as this one here with the question is going to be evaluated using points, and then the sample assignment here is going to be evaluated using a rubric. Now from a teacher view, you can see that we have one person that has been assigned this assignment and 0 have been turned in, so I do have one sample student included here. So let's get to what you probably most want to see. What is the student view? So if we jump over to a student view, here you can see, and I'm not going to update the stream because I have turned off what it looks like if the assignments would show up. So you can see on the stream, the only thing that comes up right now is the announcements. Over here in the corner, you can see that they can find any upcoming dates that might be of importance. So for instance, I did add one due date on one of the assignments, so they can see that they actually have an assignment due coming up on Friday. And any other due dates would appear here as well, or any upcoming due dates would come up here as well. So here we've seen the announcements. Let's jump over to the classwork section. And in the classwork section, this is what you really want to look for, is if it's grayed out. You're going to notice that these two here are dark gray. So the sample assignment and the question here are dark gray. That means it has not been completed. If it is grayed out, light gray, that means it has been completed or there's nothing to submit. So in this case with sample material, if I click on it, you'll get an overview of what it was about, but you can also click on view material to get more detail. So if I click on here, you can see perhaps there's some comments if the teacher has turned that on for students to do that. And if I click on this, you'll see that the Marival homepage opens. So it's just a resource. So you'll see there was nothing to submit there. If we go back to our classwork section, the next section we're going to do is a question. Now this could be something where it's just a short answer. The student can type something in there, or in this case, I just wanted to make it simple. I just wanted to make it a multiple choice. And this is one of those things where you may want to look at the details. If I look at this really quickly, I can see it just looks like a simple multiple choice question, which we'll get to in a second. But if I click on view question, you can see it's actually being evaluated and it's worth 100 points. So that is quite a bit. So you can see here, please choose one of the options below, and then we can turn it in. So let's go back to the question itself. And the question was, what was the name of the main character sorry, the question was right here. What was the name of the main character in Who Framed Roger Rabbit? Really difficult question, this one, so choose one of the options below. It's worth 100 points, so let's think this through. Was it Stan, was it Roger, or was it Cornelius? So, Who Framed Roger Rabbit? I'm going to guess here and say Roger, and then I'm going to click Turn In. So are you sure you want to submit your answer? Because you won't be able to change it after you submit it. I'm going to turn it in, and we're done. So I can actually see what I've answered here. Now, down here, I could even add little comments if I wanted to the teacher, like maybe I had some difficulties, or sorry, this was submitted late, this is the reason, or it's going to be submitted late. Something like that if you wanted to communicate something to the teacher and you weren't able to speak to them face to face. Let's go back to the last one, and let's look at a sample assignment. Now you'll notice, sorry, I should jump back. You'll notice that this is light gray now because it's been submitted. So as a parent, you could take a look at this and you can see that these have been submitted. You may want to expand it though to make sure that something has indeed been submitted, because what has happened sometimes is students have clicked the submit button, but they forgot to attach their file. So if you were looking at this and you noticed that the question wasn't answered, you'd be able to say, well, what exactly did you submit? And the last one is the sample assignment. So if we look at the sample assignment, what I've done here is instead of putting the directions here in this area here, it's actually a document that the student can open up. And here's one from a computer science class that I'm currently teaching. So the student would be able to read it, find out exactly what it is they have to do, and then they can do the work. When they come back here, what they want to do is you'll notice, well, how am I supposed to submit the work? If you click on View Assignment, you'll get the option to either mark as done, if it was just simply a completion, just tell your teacher that it was done, or you can add files to it. So add a Google Doc if you want to create it from new, or one of the Google platform programs that you can use, or add a file from your Google Drive, submit a link if it's just a URL that you have to do, or even upload a file from your computer. Now you'll notice that this is being marked for comprehension, and there's a rubric attached to it. So what I'm going to do for this one is I'm not going to add anything. I'm just going to click Mark as Done to speed up the process. And I'm going to click Mark as Done again. Now you'll notice if the student forgot something, oops, I forgot to answer this question, or I forgot to add this file, they can always unsubmit and then resubmit it again, making sure that they're paying attention to the due dates. If I jump back to my teacher view, when I look here, you'll notice that this has all been submitted. So if I view the question, I can see that this student here answered the question Roger, and they are correct. So I could give them a mark of 100 points. And then if there were more students listed in the class, then I would be able to actually click on them and see what they answered as well. If this was a survey, then I wouldn't even bother with the marking. I could just take a look at it and look at all the students and see exactly, what did they vote for, or who it, you get the idea for the survey. If I go back to my sample classwork, now let's jump to the sample assignment. And this one here, if I go to view assignment, again, I can see who's turned in what. In this case, we only have one sample student. I'll click on the student. I would have looked at their work by this point, and then I could even bring up the rubric and then decide maybe they got a level 3 on this one, or 3+, so I could click that. And then what I would do is I would return it to them, and I can even add comments if I wanted to there. So I'm going to click return it for them. And we'll jump back to the question and just make sure that I actually returned the question to them as well. So I'm going to return that to them as well. And now if we jump back to the student view, the student can now look and find out, they'll see that it's been returned. So if they view the assignment, they can get their mark, how they did. They could find any comments, could be listed here by the teacher as well. And the same would go for the question that was answered right here. So they could view the question. If there were marks attached to it, they could see how they did, or they could even just see the results on this one if they wanted to. So that is how Google Classroom works, what you can look for, look at the stream, or looking through the classwork, and how you can best support your student at home.